Hi there, Brianne at Trailblazer RV here. I am going to take you today on a new orientation on a Sportsman 231 fifth wheel. Alright, we will start here at the front of the trailer. Easy operation for your leveling legs, just extend and retract buttons. Nothing too complicated there. On fifth wheels, we do like to point out the breakaway cable. I know a lot of people don't necessarily do it up when they're towing, but it's very important that this is attached to something fixed in the truck or on the hitch in your truck so that if the fifth wheel ever does become disconnected, this will activate the RV's brake system. Around this side of the trailer, we have your propane system. This unit's equipped with two 30-pound propane tanks. Both of these are full right now. And you'll see in the sight glass on the regulator here, it is red. If I slowly open this bottle, you'll notice it changed to clear, indicating that there's now propane flowing through the system. We recommend opening both bottles at the same time. Right now, this bottle is selected as your use bottle. When this bottle is empty, the sight glass will change back to red. Once that happens, the regulator will automatically switch over and start drawing off of this tank. However, at that point, you can switch the regulator over to use this as the supply tank. At that point, you can remove this bottle and have it refilled without ever having to shut off your propane system. In here we have, in your storage compartment, you have a 30 amp power cord. It will plug into a 30 amp outlet at a campground. If you only have 15 amp available, we do supply an adapter for that as well. Over here we have your gray tank drain. We do supply a sewer hose, which we've stored in the bumper for you. To drain it, just remove the cap, attach the hose on there, pull the valve until the water stops running. At that point, again, close the valve, replace the cap. Up there, we also have the black tank drain. Similar use on that. You'll attach the hose, pull the black tank first here, let that drain. Once your black tank has drained, close the black tank valve and open the smaller galley tank valve. What that will do is the water from that gray galley tank will flush out any of the residue in the pipe and in your sewer hose that's left from the black tank, and it will help keep things a little bit cleaner as you're doing that. Also important to remember to always use an RV safe toilet paper and chemical for your black tank to help break down any of the solids in that tank, and also to help with odor control. Back here we have your hot water tank. This tank is an electric propane tank, so it can be run off either gas or electricity when you're plugged in. If you intend on running off electricity, there's a switch down here. This switch would need to be switched into the on position for the electric element to work. We're gonna leave it in the off position just to eliminate the risk of accidentally turning it on while there's no water in the tank, as that can damage your electric element. Also in the water tank is your anode rod. It's a sacrificial anode. The purpose of this rod is to allow the minerals and impurities in the water to corrode that rod rather than the lining of your tank. That will help prolong the life of the tank itself. When you pull it out, you're gonna notice it's gonna look pitted and corroded and that sort of thing. That's perfectly normal. We recommend you replace it once that rod gets down to just the center steel pin. It's gonna be about the thickness of a pen. Once any part of that rod is visible, we recommend you replace it. Depending on the kind of water you get in, that's usually every 2 to 3 years. When you're removing this plug, it's also good practice to remember to relieve the pressure off of the water system by pulling the pressure relief handle here. If you don't do that before you pull out the rod to drain the tank, this system is under about 40 pounds of pressure, so you're gonna get water shooting everywhere. Also on the water heater, you'll notice there's 2 reset buttons here. If say that unit is fired up without water in the tank, one of these, it will overheat and these resets will trip. If you find that the water heater is not working, this is your first place to check. You've got the one on the left is for your electric side and the one is on the right for your propane side. Just push them in until you hear it click and that will reset them. Down here we have your stabilizer jacks. Important to note that these are meant only to stabilize the unit, not for leveling. So crank them down until they are just tight with the ground. Don't try to lift or level the unit with these, as that can cause damage to the jacks. Unit does come with a spare tire, but it's important to note that no RV comes with a jack or tire wrench. The jack that comes with your tow vehicle is likely enough to function as the jack, but the tire wrench may not necessarily have the same size as the RV does, so it's always good to pick up just a star wrench or something like that and you have it handy. Unit does come with a power lighted awning, and this awning is adjustable. We often recommend just dropping one side of the awning while it's out. That way if you have rain, the rain can run off the awning so you don't end up bending the tube or sagging the fabric. Just remember to push it back into the level position before retract. Okay, so here we have your all the main controls for your RV. Both your awning and slide out buttons are here. Awning, pretty simple. Extend to go out, retract to bring the awning in. And same thing with the slide out room. There's an in and an out button to make the slide go in and out. Also here are all your main lighting controls. And these 2 lighted switches, one is for the light on your power awning, and the other is for the blue mood lighting inside the unit. Over here, we have your fridge. Also can run off gas or electricity. To turn it on, you just push and hold this power button. You'll see it comes on. It automatically defaults to auto mode. So if you're plugged into power, it will automatically select the electricity option. You can override that to go to propane, just with the little droplet icon here. If you are plugged in, the only reason you would want to override that system would be perhaps if you're on a weak breaker or something like that. You don't want that big power draw from the fridge element on that breaker. Otherwise, it's best to just leave it in auto mode. That way, if electricity is available, it will run off electricity. If not, it will automatically switch to propane. As you can see, it's done here since we're not plugged in. Also, some temperature controls here. We leave it set at 3. You can go anywhere from 1 to 5, but 3 seems to be a decent number, at least to start off, to see where you like it. Do keep in mind that an RV fridge will take a long time to cool, so we recommend turning it on at least the day before you're going to be loading it to go camping, because it will take several hours to get cold. Just below the fridge is your converter. This is the main power center for your RV. Inside this panel, you'll see there's breakers for your 110 circuits and fuses for your 12-volt circuits, so anything that would run off just the battery. In your RV, you have mostly 15 amps. There are a couple 20s and a couple 40s as well. In an RV, it's not uncommon to blow a fuse, so we do recommend you carry some spare fuses with you. And for your RV, like I said, 15, 20, and 40 amp is what you would need. Over here we have your gas range. To light the burners, very simple. Just turn them to the light or high mode. Sparker right here. You see all 3 burners have lit. The oven is the only pilot you're going to have in your RV. So to light the oven, you're going to turn the knob to pilot on. You're going to push and hold, and then down inside the oven you're going to find the thermocouple. You're going to want to hold a barbecue lighter on there for 20 to 30 seconds to heat up that thermocouple until you see a flame. At that point, remove the lighter, and then you can select whatever temperature you want to set your oven at. When you're done using the oven, you can either turn it back to just the pilot mode to leave that pilot on, or shut it off completely and just relight the pilot the next time you're going to use it. Over here we have your thermostat. This thermostat will control both the air conditioner and the furnace in your RV. To run the furnace, you're going to turn it to heat mode. You're going to hear the fan kick in about 30 seconds before the furnace tries to ignite. It's going to run through a purge cycle on the furnace just to get everything prepared to run. If you give it just a second, you should hear it light. Yeah, so there was your ticking, the furnace lit, and now we have warm air coming through the vents. When you shut the furnace off, it's going to go through that same purge cycle for about 30 seconds to an hour, 30 seconds to a minute. That fan is going to continue to run just to finish that purge cycle on the furnace and get it prepared for the next time you operate it. To run your air conditioning, you need to be plugged in, which we're not, so it's not going to fire up, but switch over to cool mode, and again, just select your temperature, whatever temperature you'd like, and your air conditioner will kick in automatically. There is also the option for a fan mode. The only time you would use the fan is just for, well, you could use it for air circulation, that sort of thing in the RV. Notice on this side there is settings for fan on or auto. We recommend leaving it in auto all the time. If you've got it in on, that fan is going to run continually, even if your furnace is trying to cut in. So it's better to leave it in auto. That way when you select fan, it will run as you require. Up here in the bathroom, you'll see this unit is equipped with a GFCI, ground fault circuit interrupter outlet. In an RV, most, if not all of your outlets are going to be plugged into this circuit. It's not different than the one in your bathroom. It's going to have the same test and reset buttons. If there happens to be a drop of voltage between the 2 pins, that's going to trip that reset. But it will stop all of the outlets in your RV from working. So if you find you're plugged in and you're not getting any power through the outlets, just come into the bathroom, press the reset button on there, and they should all go back to working normally. This toilet, very simple operation. It's a foot pedal flush. Like I had mentioned on the black tank, you need to use RV approved toilet paper only and a chemical in the holding tank to help break down the waste. Every time you dump your holding tank, come back into the bathroom, put 1 charge of that chemical, whatever chemical you choose, into the toilet, depress the foot pedal halfway, which will fill the bowl, And then once it's full, you drop the pedal down and it will flush down that chemical, and your holding tank is ready to go for the next time. Also in here is your controls for your water pump and water heater, as well as your monitor panel system. So simple operation, water pump turns on. The water heater, like I said, is gas and electric. So this is your button for the gas water heater. When you turn it on, you're going to notice this DSI fault light comes on. That light comes on when the water heater is not lit. But if we give it 1 second, five seconds, there we go. The DSI light has gone out and I heard the water heater ignite. You may not have heard that on the video. This is the electric switch. That one you just turn on the switch to make it work, but keep in mind if you're wanting to run off electric for the water heater, you have to have the switch on the outside of the tank on as well. This is also where you'll find your monitor panel. So you've got your battery, which you can see is at good. The only time the battery will show full is when it's charged. Fresh tank right now is empty, black tank empty, and both gray tanks empty. Important to remember that there are 2 gray tanks on this unit when dumping. Most units only have the 1. So just remember to dump both when dumping this trailer. Up here you have your controls for your antenna. Not much different with the digital antennas any more than the analog antennas that we're all used to. The only difference with the digital antenna is if you are using it and searching for a signal, you're not going to get the snow fading into a picture. With this, you're going to have either picture or no picture. So the adjustments by turning the handle will adjust the angle of the antenna. However, if you're planning on using it a bunch, we recommend picking up just a signal finder to help you find that signal, so you don't have to adjust the antenna or run to the TV to see if it worked, that sort of thing. Then the last thing to show you in the Sportsman, this is your propane carbon monoxide alarm. It will do 3 things. Number 1, it will alert you to a carbon monoxide leak. It will alert you to a propane leak, which you should also smell. And the third thing it does is it alerts you to a low battery. If it's a carbon monoxide or propane situation, it's going to be a very clear alarm sound. If it's a slower beep with about 10 seconds or so between beeps, what that alarm is doing is alerting you to a low battery. That's an indication that you need to charge the battery. The alarm is just warning you that it is getting low and it won't be working soon. And that's about everything for the Sportsman 231. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a call here at Trailblazer, or you can check us out at www.trailblazerrv.com. Thank you.